أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He accept from everybody that made this possible. We thank everybody who participated, those who I know, those who I don't know, those who had an obvious role, those who did not have an obvious role. And we ask Allah that He accept from them and bless them and make all their participation a means of closeness to Him and closeness to the Prophet ﷺ in the Akhirah. The model of leadership that the Prophet ﷺ provided was the most comprehensive and most universal model that we can imagine. Right? So every human being can immediately connect to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? And yet at the same time we find it difficult to do that at times. So most comprehensive, why? Because any role that we might find ourselves in, we can look to the Seerah, we can look to the Sunnah, and we can see Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam providing a light that shines on that role, and that what the perfect way to be in that role is. And that includes also his Sahaba, right? Because you don't have Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam without the Sahaba, right? In a hadith, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told his companions, Allah looked at the hearts of the creation, and He saw among the purest hearts the hearts of the companions, and He selected them to be with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. From pre-eternity, Allah selected them. And so they're part of his seerah. And you look at them and they're not in any way separate from who he was, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They're not in any way separate from what he accomplished, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And so the universality and the comprehensiveness of the model that he provides includes his companions. May Allah be pleased with them. In thinking about the topic for this session, Prophet ﷺ as a community leader, basically three things came to mind. One is that, what does it mean when we talk about Rasulullah ﷺ as a community leader? What does it mean to be a leader, right? We have leaders in all different spheres of life. What are the characteristics of the leadership of the Messenger of God sallallahu alaihi wasallam? The first thing is that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam showed people the way to Allah. He showed people the way to connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah tells him, قُلْ هَذِهِ سَبِيلِي أَدْعُو إِلَى اللَّهِ عَلَى بَصِيرَةٍ أَنَا وَمَنِ اتَّبَعَنِي. Say, this is my way, I call to Allah upon insight, I and those who follow me. So Rasulullah ﷺ is connecting people to their Creator, right? And when we think about introducing Islam to people, and the way Islam was introduced to me was, as Shifa and Sister Fatima noted, it was simply through the example of a beautiful example of humanity. Right, that was the first thing that I saw. Before I probably even knew or reflected on the name Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I saw somebody in front of me who lived a true life, who came from very difficult circumstances and transcended those circumstances. And that was something that I was 15 years old. I was very young at the time. So it wasn't something I necessarily processed through my mind. It was something that I just saw and was attractive to me. And Rasulullah ﷺ is the perfect example of fitrah. Fitratullah allati fatara an-nasa alayha. Right? Tawheed. The oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Connecting people to that. Providing an example where your life reflects something of the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? And leadership is not in any way confined. The Prophet ﷺ tells us, كُلُّكُمْ رَاعٍ. Every single one of you is a shepherd. and every single one of you will be asked about his flock. Right? So everybody is in a position of leadership in one way or another. Right? And so to be somebody who's connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who lives a sincere relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you will have an effect on people around you. You will have an effect on people around you if you're sincere with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Things that you say where you may not think about it, right? I was with somebody recently and I asked brother Nadeem Siddiqui, who founded Taysir's seminary with Sidi Hassan. I asked him, did you think about opening a seminary in Knoxville, for a long time, or, and he said to me, I don't think about the future very much. He said, it never turns out how you expect. He said, Allah is the one in control, and, I just kind of go with the flow. It's like a wave, I ride it. He said that just kind of, you're just being honest. But if you think, that's a very, very deep statement. That he's not really worried about, he's living with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's living with what Allah opens for him, the doors that Allah opens for him. Right? And so people who are connected to Allah, by their very state, by their being, they indicate to others how they should be. Right? And as simple as that sounds, right, it takes work. It takes work. It takes work to be in a state of constant connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But when that connection is there, then the effect will radiate to the people around us. The second thing is that the Prophet ﷺ, an indispensable, absolutely central attribute is his mercy, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his mercy for the creation of Allah, his unbounded, unfathomable, infinite mercy for the creation of Allah. Right? After the head of the munafiqeen died, somebody who, didn't leave any stone unturned to harm the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to keep people from the way of Allah. After he died, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if I thought, Allah told him, إِن تَسْتَغْفِرْ لَهُمْ سَبْعِينَ مَرَّةً لَا يَغْفِرُ اللَّهُ لَهُمْ. Even if you seek forgiveness for them 70 times, Allah will not forgive them, right? 70 being a number in Arabic, like a lot. He said, if I knew that seeking forgiveness for him more than that would benefit him, I would do it. And he gave his cloak to the man's son so that he could be buried in the cloak of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So, unbounded, unfathomable depth of mercy and care for the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the third thing is sidq and amana. Right? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is known before his bi'atha as al-amin, as the person who you can trust. Right? The person who, if you really need to trust somebody, if you really need somebody who's not going to break their principles, if you really need somebody who's true to his word, it's Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right? And then after the risala, after the bi'tha, he embodies that in an absolute way in his relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and in his conveying of the message. وَالَّذِي جَاءَ بِالصِّدْقِ وَصَدَّقَ بِهِ أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُتَّقُونَ. The one who brought sidq, the one who brought sincerity, the one who brought honesty, the one who brought an alignment with the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And those who attempt to align themselves with that sincerity. أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُتَّقُونَ. Those are the people of taqwa. Those are the people who are truly aware of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I ask Allah that He enable us from today moving forward, from this moment moving forward, that He fill our hearts with remembrance of Him, that He fill our hearts with the love of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that He make us لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا. Allahumma ja'alna lil-muttaqina imama. وصلى اللهم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.